Folks, I don't know if you've seen this, but the 40-year mortgage has been all over my Twitter feed, all over my social media. And something Beth Traverso and I've never talked about is what are her thoughts about a 40-year mortgage? So we're going to have that conversation right here, right now. How you doing, Beth?
All right, I'm doing great, Mike. Thank you so much. Always good to chat with you.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's hit your radar. You've probably heard of 40-year mortgage long before this week. Both of us been in the game a while. But I've never asked you, what are your thoughts, right? 40 years. What do you think of a 40-year
Yeah,
mortgage?
I actually get excited when I hear that because I don't think
Okay.
about, because very, I don't know if I even can count on one hand the number of people I know who stuck with a mortgage all the way through to the end.
Mhm.
I don't know if people do. I mean, sure, people in the comments would be like, I did it, or so and so. There's people that do it. I just don't
Yeah.
know very many of them. Definitely a very small minority.
Mhm.
I'm sure other people that you have on your channel here could tell you the average length of time people have a mortgage. I know it's
It's
changed,
8 years. It's 8 years.
yeah, okay, 8 years. So 8 years. So it doesn't really matter to me if it's a 30-year or a 40-year. The only thing that makes a difference is the payment.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to pay their mortgage off earlier, you always can. I'm not a fan of that for all the reasons that people have talked about on this channel. Oh, let's see the dog.
Oh,
Sorry, you got
sorry.
to bring the dog.
I gotta put He
You
hurt
can't
his
tease us
eye.
like that.
Yeah, he hurt
Okay.
his eye, so
Oh,
it's sewn shut.
oh,
Yeah.
permanently?
No, no, no. For 10 more days. 10 more days.
Okay, okay, good.
Sorry.
Well, so people are not keeping their mortgages for 40 years. It's really about affordability, and so they're looking for ways to make housing more affordable. And so coming
Yeah.
up with a 40-year mortgage, we all knew it was coming, right? Like I remember hearing you and the three amigos talking about this. What was it, a year ago? I don't remember. It
Yeah.
was a while ago.
All the things that we saw coming in 2023, the 40-year mortgage was one of those things.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we've just been waiting, and now right now it's been kind of hung out there as a teaser from what I can see. I don't think conventional mortgages are
No.
doing offering that yet. It's non-QM and FHA, right?
Well, it's
So,
non-Q. We got to be very careful. So a lot of people are reporting that the 40-year mortgage is for FHA. That is technically wrong.
okay.
What it is for FHA is it is a life preserver if you're in financial distress. It's one of
Okay.
the ways they can take your mortgage and lower the payment. It's one of the
Oh, all
tools
right.
they
So it's like
have.
a modification, a loan mod thing, but loan mods have been
Bingo.
around for 15 years or at
This
least.
is
So
now approved as one of the options. Now,
I see.
many people are saying it's step one for it to becoming a normal product, which could be true. But as of today, it's not something Matt the mortgage guy would quote. It's not,
Got it.
it's non-QM like Velocity or Convoy. Um,
Sure, sure.
but
Okay. So, but I've heard them start to tease. I'm beginning seeing the headlines and
oh,
people
for
starting
sure.
to throw these out as teasers,
Hmm.
which tells me that that's how things start. Is it starts as kind of like a rare thing. It's here and there, and then eventually it becomes
Becomes a
integrated
standard. Yeah,
into
exactly.
the standard. So I do believe that probably is coming. Um, when, who knows? But as housing affordability becomes more and more of an issue, it's going to be something that's going to be compelling to a lot of people.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I mean, you bring up a lot of good points. Just naturally speaking, I repulse from the 40-year mortgage because again, I'm like, oh my God, look at all that interest you're paying. It's this, that. Like if you could only afford a home because of the 40-year mortgage, you can't afford a home. It's kind of, one answer. But if you step back in the bigger picture and acknowledge your very first point that nearly no one stays in their original mortgage very long, 8 years is what is that, 30% of the mortgage life? There's a lot of truth in that, right? It's more affordable. But again, if you want to play the other side and the 40-year becomes the standard someday, what does that do to price? Because everybody's on payment. It's always the payment. So price goes up
there will
11. I
come a
think
time when prices will surge to accommodate the 40-year standard if it becomes standard.
exactly.
Because a lot of people balk about 30 years too, like 30 years, take 30 years to pay on, but people are like, oh, you're not going to have that loan for 30 years.
Exactly.
Very unlikely.
Yeah. You can get a
So
15. In fact, if
yeah,
you,
you can
yeah,
get a 15. I prefer to have, if you wanted to pay it off early, you could get a 30 or a 40 if that becomes the norm. Pay it off in however many years you decide you want to. That's possible. As long as there's no prepayment penalty, you can do that.
sure, sure.
Um, but I think there's going to be a time period where that's going to increase affordability. and then the market will adjust for that, and then prices will go up, which will make the value of the asset, people that own multiple properties, their assets, the values are going to go up,
Yep,
which is
because it's
good for
always
people
about
who
payment.
own.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I did the math. I did the math a couple of years ago and I made some assumptions. And the biggest assumption of all was the interest rate was the same. If you just take the interest rate as the same from a 30-year to a 40-year, which I admit's an assumption, you could increase the value of the asset 11% to get the same payment.
mhm,
So again, if figuring out that markets are efficient, there is some appreciation just as people switch to the 40-year. Hence, you want to be an asset owner in
yes,
that environment, right? So it's
right,
just kind of wild to think about.
right, yeah, and so, it would have to be, in order for that to happen, I think it's going to have to be beyond an FHA. Except, it needs to be like mainstream 30-year
Conventional,
conventional
correct.
vanilla loan standard.
Mhm.
Um, and the majority of borrowers, I think, would have to be participating with that in mind. So
I think it's like a lot of mortgage products. It will like this is the tease to get it, then it'll become standard, then 5%, 10%, and then a
yeah,
decade from now, we talk about 40-year or 30-year instead of now we talk about 30-year or 15. Right, the 15 will
yeah.
go the way of the cuckoo bird or whatever.
hmm
So
I think
yeah,
that's
it's
probably likely to happen. I personally I don't fear it at all. And for myself, would I get a 40-year? Sure, I would, because the same as a 30-year, for me, it's just a matter of
yeah,
for a
you're
good
not in your
property, it helps
mortgage for
my
the
cash
life.
flow,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I don't really look at ever I've toyed around with the idea of paying off mortgages, and I keep coming back to, like, why would I do that?
I
So
got a better use of capital.
I know, like, it's one thing for some people, maybe they need it for peace of mind, but I can have reserves and cash flow and other things that give me peace of mind. I don't need to have a paid off mortgage, because even when the mortgage is paid off, you're saving on the interest, but all the rest of it, you're still paying taxes, insurance, and that principal pay down that you were paying is, you're just paying that all up front. So it's not like that's a savings. It's just the interest portion, which is,
Yeah.
it's not as much as, it's not that compelling. So for me, I was like, if I paid off my house because the taxes are high where I am, it's like I still would have a decent sized mortgage payment. I'd rather keep that money for other things. So
For sure.
so I would absolutely do a 40-year mortgage if it was, I mean, I'm not refinancing out of my 3% interest rate, but
No,
but
that's not high on your
theoretically,
list.
if I ever was going to do
Yeah,
that, a 40-year mortgage might help ease that
that could actually. Yeah,
happen.
yeah. Folks, at the end of the day, these are all discussions you should have with your mortgage broker or your bank. Think what's possible. Look at payments. Look at fees. It's out there. I think Beth is right. This is coming. It will help with affordability. And oh, by the way, by helping with affordability, I think the other outcome will be prices will go up to adjust for said payment difference, which again, like for likes 11, roughly 11%. So Beth, if somebody wanted to reach out, get a hold of you, or maybe get a referral to another great agent around the country, how would they do that?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me through my website, BethTraversogroup.com, or just Google me or find me on the One Rental at a Time Facebook group.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.